Yo, what's up? My name is Omari Haribin, and you are listening to the unofficial Squarespace Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, founder of SQSPthemes.com, and today we're going to talk with Promise Tangeman, CEO and creative director of the design agency Go Live HQ. We're going to get a little bit into her story, how she got started and grew her design agency into what it is today. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about how she got into selling website templates. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Promise, who's going to introduce herself, and we'll get started.
Perfect. Yeah, I originally started back in 2010. Actually, 2007, I graduated from design school, and it's a funny story. I actually fell in love with customizing Myspace profiles. This really dates me. But yeah, I made a cool background image for my Myspace page, and my profile picture matched. I had some music, and that was like my first eye-opening experience creating my own unique corner of the web that represented my personality and what I wanted my personal brand to be. And then I just had a bunch of friends that wanted me to customize their Myspace profiles as well. And that's where I really fell in love with web design. And then because I had a design background, I really dove into understanding personal brand and building brands for already established companies, helping entrepreneurs launch what they love. And my first business was called Promise Tangeman Creative. So it was my own personal name. And then the demand just grew from there. And I fell in love with helping other people launch their websites, people that weren't necessarily designers, but that were entrepreneurs and really wanting to launch what they love into the world. Because sometimes when your website is live, your business actually feels real because it's your own corner of the web. It's your digital front door in a lot of ways. So that's kind of how I got started. And then as the demand started to grow, I was trying to figure out different ways to scale my business and help more people launch what they loved through their web design. So I started creating website templates. Yeah.
So catch me up with the website templates. I know you guys work on a couple different platforms, but how did that start and how has that grown?
Yeah. So the website templates just started as wanting to create a resource for people to do on their own at a lower budget cost. Because at the time I was only doing custom designs for people that, cost thousands of dollars, and my schedule was full. And back in the day, this was 2010. So as a female in that web design space, there was a lot of creative entrepreneurs that were females that were launching their businesses. And the feedback that I got was, I feel like my schedule was filling up because people and other women were like, you just get my style, you get what I'm going for and what I'm trying to do online. And that's why they wanted to hire me. And so I was like maxed out. My calendar was maxed out with projects. And so I was trying to figure out how can I scale and help more people for not as high of a cost. And so that's where I started dabbling in the template concept. And I first launched with a web design platform called Show It, and did that for years, and really liked the platforms that were easy to use for people, which I've tried to stay away from WordPress just because it's really not easy for my ideal client, which just wants to drag and drop things and customize things with buttons and stay away from code. So Squarespace was an interesting challenge, just given, how the platform is created and put together. And so we're like, how do we work this? How do we do templates on Squarespace?
Wow, interesting. So it sounds like you started off with a really good problem of just being overbooked and needing to somehow scale yourself or scale your design aesthetic, and that's what brought you into the template space. Tell me a little bit about your team. How have you been able to grow that over the years?
Yeah, that was an interesting dynamic when I first started, because I mean, I guess everyone would like to say they have a unique style. But I felt like, people were coming to me, at least the feedback I was getting is that I had a style that they were looking for. So at first it was hard for me to, um, have other designers designing for me because people were looking for my, um, unique style aesthetic is how they would put it. So I did some where I started art directing and kind of trying to, um, like micromanage some of my designers, and I'm like, this really isn't working. And so that's really where I rebranded, into Go Live. Um, and I fell in love with the concept of just launching quickly, because I feel like so many entrepreneurs and, small businesses, wait for the moons to align, and your website could take months and months or even a year to come to fruition, just because you want it to be perfect and you feel like you have to have all your ducks in a row. But I knew as a creative entrepreneur that I needed my website up ASAP because it was my most strategic marketing tool for my business. So that's where we put together a live workshop for people, where we would, people came from all over, and we would have them at different, event venues, or we even would kind of outfit my house to, accommodate this live in-person workshop. But we would help, small businesses. They'd come from all over, and we'd, help them build and launch their website in 2 days. So that was like a kind of a rush, go type of event. And we called the workshop Go Live. And that's where I was like, oh, I love this concept of helping people launch their website quickly and get it out into the world so they can get on with their business and really change their life, because, they're creating freedom and they're taking their side hustle full time for a lot of people. So that rebranding really helped me be able to bring on more designers. And I wanted to move away from it being about me and my design aesthetic and being more about the team and what we're creating together as a team. So I feel like the rebrand really helped. And then I kind of just took my hands off of trying to micromanage my designers' design aesthetic. And I handpicked the designers that I feel like have a similar look to what the brand is going for. And then I just trust them completely with, their design style and aesthetic and their intuition.
Right. Yeah. You can let go when it's already in line with kind of where you're oriented. Um,
Yeah.
so you've got like, a little over a decade here of working with entrepreneurs online, specifically getting them started. What are some of the mistakes that you see that pop up over and over again? I mean, you mentioned kind of the procrastination thing that happens when we're just kind of, ifing and hemming and hawing.
Yep.
What else do you see?
Yeah, I see a few things. Also see people trying to do everything, and trying to launch a business that I mean, really, this concept that I'm going to explain is counterintuitive, but a lot of people think, oh, the more I offer and the more people I can offer it to, the more business I'm going to get.
Yep.
When, in this online space, you actually need to niche down and really focus on one thing and become really good at that one thing. And then you become known for that one thing. And so that would be like my biggest advice for entrepreneurs that are just starting out is, um, you know, kind of try to stay away from the temptation to be everything to everyone, and really try to focus on that one client and that one product or service that you're going to get really good at, because your name will spread faster in a smaller group of people than it will in a big sea of, of what everyone else is doing. So I feel like that helps you stand out. And then, yeah, and I was going to say, then the other thing was, I feel like so often I see people's websites, and it might just be because they're really in their head when they're creating their website, but I feel like so many times people forget to just plainly state what they do or what they offer. Like, I find myself like looking on the website and trying to actually figure out, like, what does this person actually do? Like, I can't tell. Um, so just having a one sentence statement that helps people, identify what it is exactly that you offer, and then what makes you different is, really important on your website. I'd say
Yeah.
those two main things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those are great because I mean I've gone through that myself, and niching down is one of those things. It's like a commitment thing. You're like, oh my God, like if I just choose this one lane, I'm alienating all these other possible potential people who probably wouldn't care anyway. Um, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And then also, you mentioned kind of how we speak through our websites. And
Yeah.
I find the same thing too. Like when you're presenting yourself online or when you're presenting yourself kind of as a business and you're coming from maybe, let's say, the corporate world, you still kind of think that you have to speak like not human or like
Yes.
like some type of entity that isn't actually you. And it makes so much difference when you stumble on a site where it's like, ah, yes, this is for me, or maybe it's not for me, but at least I know who it's for, and I can kind of send someone there if it makes sense. Um,
Exactly.
Cool. So let's wrap it up. So you've talked a little bit about the story behind Go Live HQ, growing your team, some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make. Any parting words that you can leave for our audience, specifically people who maybe they're serving clients now and they want to enter into the digital product space and maybe create their own templates. What is some advice that you can give there?
Yeah, I would say one big piece of advice that I got early on in my business in terms of scaling, I am all about having a service-based business and really servicing your clients well. I think that's a great way to get started, a great way to maintain. One of my mentors had said, when you make your business about serving other people, you will always have plenty of work. And I totally believe that. And I've seen that to be true in my own business. But the one piece of advice I have gotten in terms of like scaling my business and creating sustainability has been to figure out what my byproducts are of my service-based business. So, for example, when I was creating custom websites for people, I might do, 2 or 3 iterations of what their website could look like. And then I would take some of those scrapped versions and create those into website templates. And so you're really utilizing something that you've already created and making it scalable. So creating a product out of it. So it doesn't have to be, web design for the listeners that are listening to this, but just thinking, what is a byproduct that you create on a regular basis in your business that you could package up? Maybe, maybe it's information, maybe it's knowledge, maybe it's, a course of some sort. Or maybe it's just like scrap things that you, that you use. Like say, like if you're, this is taking it out of the digital space, but if you were like, if you cut down trees for a living, like what can you do with the sawdust that you create from cutting down the trees or something, something similar like that. But I think just thinking through like, how can I use what I'm already creating to create sustainability and just some consistency in the business that really helps with freelancing and when you have a service-based business to have some of that extra income coming in.
Awesome. I love that piece of advice so much because it's something that I don't hear. I don't really hear it too often, but it's
Yeah.
something that I've learned firsthand as well, is that there's so much value in your processes and the things that you do for yourself within your business that, are valuable to people who are even in the same field as work as you, your peers. It's a really good way to turn people who possibly would be your competition into customers and clients too, because you're just serving all around. So
Yeah.
I really love that promise. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been great talking with you.
Sweet. Yeah. Thanks for having me.